Hey everyone, so Joe Cresci here with another episode of RevOps 500. Today, I'm pretty pumped because I'm interviewing my good buddy, HubSpot coach and founding pro profoundly, Chris Carolan. Welcome to RevOps 500, man.
Thanks for having me, man. Excited to chat. It's been a long time coming.
I know. We've been trying to do it, and finally we got the guy on the show. We got the man, the myth, the legend here.
Someday that'll be known throughout the land, but it's okay. I only need a couple people to say it like that, and
Yeah, there,
it
there you
makes it
go.
all makes it all worth it.
There you go. Okay, Chris. So right off the bat, what is your biggest mistake?
Biggest mistake. Uh, Thinking that buy-in from leadership is enough to get things done uh, inside of an organization. Twice in a row, I had to learn that lesson. And that's what led me to, stepping outside, realizing I might not be the best for inside of organizations and stepping outside into consulting and trying to help people from the outside.
Okay, so getting buy-in from leadership on things. You
Yeah.
you made some mistakes. And you felt like that was an easier process than you felt like that would be easier than it was, basically. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, I think so. So I met HubSpot in 2017, and not that this is always going to be HubSpot focused, but uh, like that's probably the closest to RevOps. I mean, no, let's not overthink it. Like I used to be king of the spreadsheets and like a lab manager. So I'm from oil and gas manufacturing background. Started as a bench chemist, moved up
Yeah,
through uh, the operations and back ends. Why I'm so focused on customer success, and that introduced me to the supply chain problems and that nobody talks to anybody, and but everybody has a problem that they want you to solve, and how do you show up and kind of support it. I had created a domain of like I knew where all the spreadsheets were. I knew how to take a lead from all the way from lead to shipped and like handle the tickets because I'm the one that
sure.
made the product, so that I got to handle the whole deal, whole customer life cycle.
Yeah,
Right. As soon as I stepped out of that role, I was like, oh man, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work for anybody else. I should have asked for a database, some kind of CRM system, like we're using QuickBooks, right? So that's probably when this journey began. But it was a 10-person org, right? And uh, I could get buy-in there, but there's no budget there. So
okay,
maybe the true mistake is thinking like buy-in plus budget is enough. Like,
okay.
and so I would imagine people listening like, well, how could that not be enough? Well, here's how. Um, Eventually, I hit my first corporate role, and I'm brought in like in the middle, like September of COVID, like September 2020.
2020.
And this company had been doing 150 trade shows per year globally. That's just gone, right? I mean, spoiler alert, sales still went up somehow. Uh, did we go right back to the trade shows when they came? Yes, we did. But anyways, I came in and was asked to do like build out a digital marketing infrastructure, right?
Hmm.
And what I now know is that's like come be a change agent in an organization that is used to doing things a certain way.
Certain way.
And even though the president of the division is the champion and will sweep in front of me and will say all the things, right? And that's where you make the nice slides, you get all the nods from the board and the president, and then when you try to execute with sales teams that are used to doing things a certain way, service teams that are used, it's like, nope. And what I learned, and this is like from an internal communication perspective, like all these things need to be in place for this to actually be effective. And if I can't give my champion the tools and language they need so that they're the change agent, like I cannot be the change agent. And in my second iteration of this, I literally had a CEO tell me, like, look, Chris, if I have to choose First of all, that's a bad place to be right off the bat. But he's telling me, I feel like I've got to choose between the person I've known for 1 year and trust and people that I've known for 7, 10 longer years and trust. I've got to choose the other people.
Mm.
So like understanding that I I could talk a big game, big enough to get like $1 million budget from zero the year before, a team of 6 from zero. And then we start doing the stuff and you just run into these things in orgs. And I was coming at it from a customer experience perspective, like, because it's make it easier to buy, make it easier to be successful with your product. Like everybody loves that slide, right?
Mhm.
But I didn't know about RevOps, right? I wasn't using any language related to that. I was saying, yeah, revenue options or operations over here, but right next to the website, and it's like all in the same thing, right? Well, when you don't have, like, I'm the marketing guy. Why am I in charge of the CRM? Like, oh, we need to send some emails to customers. Okay, can I get a customer list with all their emails? No, that's an ERP, and we don't track email addresses like that in our
Mm.
ERP. I'm like, okay, well, how are we gonna do that? Like, and then you're asking people to change on the ground floor, and some people
Yeah.
are all about it, but generally when you get right under that leadership table, like the sales managers and the service managers, that they're just trying to do their job at the end of the
Mhm.
day. So I definitely learned a lot of empathy through that process, but understanding that buy-in, like when I looked back, like both times, like I feel like probably a little righteous about it, honestly, which is part of the issue. But you know, when you get board approval and budgets and green lights, and then you just run into the wall, it's so like I'm brought in, I'm responsible for doing this. I'm going to try and fix this. I'm going to try and maybe figure out how to build these relationships, but maybe I'm not the best at that. Like, so twice in a row, like completely blindsided by being let go, largely because I just pissed enough people off. Like, and I'm not good at the company politics and all this stuff. Cause after I was like, okay, like it's 23-month stint here, then 10 months at the next place. I'm like, all right, what am I doing wrong here? Like,
Mhm.
I looked back and I was like, I don't think I could have operated any differently, like based on the signals I had. But what was missing, like from a success standpoint, like why wasn't I able to be successful? And so I step into this space, and then it was like 6 months in, I took the RevOps boot camp from HubSpot, and I
Got
was like, oh, yeah, we didn't have any of this.
it.
There was no maps. All my maps were like customer journey and not related to process, really,
Mhm.
not related to data. And uh, that boot camp told me a lot about not only how this industry being SaaS kind of views everything and talks about everything and why there's such a disconnect with places like manufacturing, but really the granularity required and the challenge at hand of making sure everybody in the organization understands what's trying to be accomplished, why are we changing, what kind of resources are needed, and just all of that. So when you asked me that question the other day as we were prepping, I was like, yeah, that's the one that comes to mind. I'm sure I've
That's the
made
one.
many more, but that was a big one because I always step into these roles like with a lot of intention and purpose and finding a way to like make the math work so that I'm changing the world in some way. And the hardest part of being let go from those organizations was not being able to help the customer facing teams that I knew needed this stuff to happen. Right. Um, so yeah, long walk, but that's where my mind goes in response to that question.
And that's such a fascinating one, Chris. Like, when you say like, like buy-in would be easy or adaption would be easy. So, and even look, even where I work at Computent, we have similar challenges. We have people all good intention, trying to do the right thing for the customer, solving for the customer in the way that we all feel is best. And sometimes, yeah, there is that, like that. If you show, you can see me, I'm butting my fists together. Like, listen, I think if we take this route to the destination, it's better. You say, no, let's take the other highway to get to the destination, that's better. And we both will go at it. And I've always wondered, like, how do companies just get around that stuff? Because otherwise, it's going to be like either my way or the highway. And literally, it sounds like in your case, it was the highway twice, right? So, I mean, yeah, how do you think like companies they get around it? What do they do in your opinion? What do the
Well,
good
you
companies
gotta,
do that get around it?
yeah, I've learned a lot since then. In both cases, it was the sales leader that
Okay,
ended up leading to my exit.
okay,
Um, I'll say the second one just to make myself feel a little better. Like had a, a quicker stint than I did.
okay,
She lasted 9 months
okay.
after removing me. Um, but it's yeah, like don't hide from complexity and don't hide from the number of people that just need to be involved in the conversation, right? Because that was where in manufacturing it's pretty easy to find like micromanagement
Sure.
in a lot of ways, right? And
Yeah,
generally leaders are very good at pulling people aside, right, and having the one-to-one conversations. And so when they say like you want it to be true that if they're in agreement, like that will trickle down to sales, and like we don't necessarily, and we're kind of like we know sales isn't going to like this, so maybe we can kind of side, like we can just talk to the big people and then sales
yeah,
will get worked out and I don't have to deal with it. And it
yeah.
never works like that, like
No,
ever.
never.
um and the fact of the matter is they hold the revenue number. They will win every single argument, which is another conversation in itself. But that's really like the complexity thing, I think, is a big one. Because in most organizations, like where I'm at now, is these leaders are smart. Like no matter what part of the organization they're in, like you don't build successful businesses by making bad decisions all the time.
Of course.
uh, it's rare, at least. Um, and you see them doing things like Lean Six Sigma and these ERP systems, super complex like operational systems. Like, and they're forced to learn this stuff because it matters for accounting and like, in order to ship the thing, this stuff has to happen. Meanwhile, on the customer side, you have a salesperson that doesn't need any system ever, can take it from first meet, have everything happen verbally, all the way to the point of a verbal contract
Yeah,
to win a deal. Like
it's that
that
rudimentary.
happens, right? And that's why they've been successful for a long time, because they won't let anything get in the way of the relationship and the trust building, right? And they're really great at holding context in their head and all this stuff. Obviously, like we want to build these systems to scale. Like as soon as that guy's gone, like good luck. As soon as the business context changes, like good luck,
Good luck.
right? And that's what COVID and the digital thing like created a lot of that.
Mhm.
Um, but like understanding that, um, like human behavior is complex, and we're trying to build systems to manage internal and external human behavior in some kind of repeatable, forecastable, predictable way. And honestly, that's kind of a fool's errand. Like to do it as well as you can do it on the operations side, which again, since they've done it over here, they try to apply it over here. And I used to be there, like Revenue Factory seemed like a good idea, like because we're all yearning for this standardized framework because they're all over the place, like ISO 9001 and all these other operational frameworks exist. Except you get over to sales and marketing, and it's just like
It's
medic
nothing.
and BANT, and like that's
Yeah.
all you got. Like, of course, everybody's just running this through verbal conversations. Um, and so the complexity of it, and this is what like one of my takeaways of the boot camp is the kind of support I wasn't going to get from SaaS, because all I kept hearing was keep it simple. And it was in response to a question the instructor answered. I was like, where's the line between like a process map document that tells the whole story and putting something in front of a leader that they will consume and understand?
Mm.
And I didn't get a good, the answer I got was keep it simple, right? And one of the ways I got buy-in in both places was to create this monstrosity of a diagram that had all of the things that I thought were integral to doing content marketing across the whole life cycle, not ending at closed won, but going into customer marketing.
Mm.
So there's, if you can imagine it, there's a content creation, and then you have website assets, and
Tons
then
of
you have
stuff.
content
Yeah.
distribution, and then you have metrics for that, and then you have sales process and buyer process. Then you have things that the internal team needs to do, like quoting. And then their kind of SME kind of marketing stuff, which is underneath that, like helping the whole organization with messaging and all this stuff, and then reporting under that. And then at the top, imagine 7 different markets that the whole diagram needs to change for if you're going to target that audience effectively, right? And every time I show it to somebody, it's deer in headlights, like guaranteed, like
Really?
especially leaders. But since I was in the position where there was some trust there, and I'm not just doing this to be difficult, right? They would sit down with me, and within 15 minutes, I could take them through the diagram and they would get it. They would understand this is not something Chris can do on his own. This is
Sure.
not something HubSpot as a purchased item is going to solve for on its own, right? If we want to get serious about scale and growth across markets, across product lines, there's resources required, right? And when you keep it simple, we get accidental admins. We get, oh, we'll just start with starter, and then we'll find all these plugins. We'll do Zapier. We'll start to connect things. Oh, you don't need the data from over there. Like it has no chance in hell, right? And of course it doesn't, because how could the leader possibly know if they're not schooled on RevOps and customer data, and nobody's telling them that? Like, my favorite way, the quickest path for me to get there is, everybody loves the idea of like an Amazon-like B2B order portal,
Oh
right?
yeah, of course.
And one of the things all customers would expect is to go log into there and see a tracking number for a shipment, right?
Mm.
And so the beauty of HubSpot is that the CMS is right on top of the CRM, and if the data is in HubSpot, you can easily show it on
Yep.
the
CRM.
website.
Yep. CMS. Yep.
But who's in charge of the tracking number? Shipping,
Shipping, logistics. Yeah, of
right?
course. Outside of.
So why the hell does marketing want to talk to the shipping team, right? But once we get buy-in for the customer portal, like, you have to be able to tell the story to the leader to say, okay, so this is the big picture. We know that's a great customer experience, but guess what? That's going to cause change in this part of the organization that historically has never even talked to the people that got to do this thing,
Wow.
right? And because what happens in practice is, so we're using UPS or FedEx or whatever,
Yep.
we get to the end of the month, and that's when we fill in all the data, because we got to have the monthly meeting,
Okay.
and that's when we fill in the spreadsheet. So we backtrack, because the whole time we've been delivering it to the customers because they need it. They're asking for it via emails. Everything's manual. But that's not going to work if we have a login situation available to customers where it needs to be updated in real
Updated.
time, right? And when you can connect those dots, it becomes very clear, like, okay, this is not just a thing that marketing can go do. Like, that was one of my, related to that mistake, at the second organization, the bottom of the slide was marketing to lead digital transformation. Nope. Like,
Can't do it.
marketing cannot do it.
Can't do it.
It's rare to find an organization that understands marketing in the way that they need to understand what that statement means. Which is why, like, when we were starting up our agency, I wanted nothing to do with the term marketing. Like, I've done playing that game. You'd ask 100 people for a definition of marketing, you'll get 100 different
100 different
answers.
answers.
And they will
Yeah,
all be super confident in their answer, right?
totally true.
Like, so that's where we went to like growth agency and, customer and stuff like that. Obviously, we see a lot of RevOps out there, but even that, it's like, understanding like RevOps, when we see it in our space, like usually still only means marketing and sales. It's like, you're not even,
So
like,
the
the
whole thing, yeah.
revenue is over here. Like, and you're not in charge of that part? Like, what are we doing here, man?
Yeah, so true.
How do you think, like, if I can
Yeah,
ask the question back, like, how did we get to that point where we have a term like revenue operations and it's only like marketing and sales?
not customer success, nothing with the customer at all. It's funny you mentioned that because a lot of times it's the handoff that these larger entities do, right? They say, okay, I've sold it, you go take care of it. They're your thing from now, and I'm gonna go on to the next. I'm in sales, but they don't realize that that person bought one thing. They might buy three others. They might repeat order, and they will give you your referrals. They don't understand how to make that the let's use a HubSpot ecosystem. They don't know how to make that flywheel spin, right? Like this, and combine all three things together. And some people are very good. They're just customer centric. They don't care what the sales and marketing is doing. They don't care about what was promised to them. They don't. There's a disconnect between those two things. And
Yeah.
getting alignment is hard. I was shocked when you mentioned that, Chris. That you're saying that people who was in shipping, they would provide the tracking number, and then there'd be questions around like, why does the marketing team be talking to shipping department? Well, obviously, I mean, they have to get that number because the customer is asking for that, right? I
Yeah.
want to know where my widgets are. Where's my Chuck Norris DVDs? I want to know where they all are, right? Like,
Yeah.
if I can't find them in here, then where am I going to get
And
them from?
right. And that's where when marketing's asked to digitize, because what's happening is practice is sales is getting that question, or, customer
Yeah,
order management's getting that question, and then they're calling and emailing shipping department. All this manual, that's been like, as I've kind of settled into this space, like, it's easy to think that we can do all this stuff remotely, right?
but
But when you can go and sit inside of an org for a day and just listen to all the verbal communication that happens,
yes,
right?
it's everywhere. Yeah,
It's, and related to ERPs in the last internal gig that I had, it wasn't until I saw this, like, just this stack, this order management stack, right? And had, like different color post-its throughout the stack and like written
yeah,
notes everywhere. And then they've got the file cabinet over here. But then there's places for that information in the ERP. But it wasn't until I saw that real time. It's like the real communication is happening when I hand you the stack,
yeah, yeah.
right? And then we ask IT. And this is where, like, when you don't have the right expertise building the systems, it's so impactful because you ask
Mm-hmm.
IT, hey, this is important data that we need to know, and it would be nice to have it in the ERP, right? And you're not connecting it to the rest of the journey. Like, you're not even thinking about customer portals. Even though you talk about it every week and everybody thinks it's a great idea, you're just not connecting it to these pieces of data. So we just get another notes field, another non-reportable field. And like, the ERP in that situation became the paper order stack. Like, it matched that instead of digitizing the process, right?
Yep,
And I'm so glad you talked about the handoff.
yep.
And this is continues to be a journey because I love digging into like 25 years of SaaS, and we still have 50% CRM adoption rate,
Oh,
70%
low
digital
churn, high
transformation
churn. Oh yeah.
failures.
Yep, yep.
Like, how, why,
You,
right?
you know,
And so I dig into like the way that we talk about things and language, and uh, that's when, like, so value first has been a thing I've been working on, in terms of just like trying to target all of the things that get in the way, that got in the way for me, but even getting in the way of everybody around me. When you have such a affordable, easy to use, easy to maintain platform like HubSpot, and how do we not get ROI from that? Like, what is actually happening? And the first word like I chose, like leads, is a word that, like, any conversation I've ever had in my life, it's like, if that comes up, it's like, all right, we're not talking about customers and human beings anymore.
That's right.
We're talking about KPIs and like doing
Yeah.
things for the wrong reasons. And but today, like, so still learning, like always open to like understanding this complex problem. But I remember when I had the diagram, right? I took it to Japan, which is where our headquarters were.
Hmm.
And I was sitting in this meeting where they had some diagrams too. And guess where they all ended?
Where?
At closed one,
Close one.
right? There was no diagrams at all.
Uh-huh.
Even though we're saying out loud, we want to do service revenue increases. We know customer marketing is valuable. I mean, even HubSpot, like before the customer success workspace existed, it's like, can we put our money where our mouth is at some point? Like, it's
Yeah.
hard,
So
like
true.
to like manage and build revenue off of customer success, even though everybody knows. And just all those, I kind of like take a step back and think about the big picture of like, if that's how SaaS operates, and it's always about net new, and then you're given tools that just give you net new, like then all the best practices are just net new
That
focused,
new focused.
right? But today, as I was, because I'm doing a value first customer live in a little bit,
Mm.
and I was thinking about this, or working with Claude, which a lot of the ideas come from, if I'm being honest. I love, man, AI for ADHD is like one of the most powerful things I've experienced in my life, for sure. Um, and getting ready for this show, and it just dawns on me, like, our process for sales ends in the word closed.
Yeah. Pretty open. Yeah. Pretty
So what does
interesting.
that mean? It means
Yeah.
job's done. Like,
Job's
we're done
done.
here,
Hand off. Yep. Yep.
right? So naturally, so surprise, we have people that, oh, we got the money, like on
Yes.
to the next thing.
On to
Like,
the
oh,
next.
just
Yeah.
go, like, and of course we have these issues. And that's where
Yeah.
like these words, especially when you talk to the customer facing teams on the ground, like the way you name things matters so much. Because when
Yeah.
you can switch the name, now I haven't had enough time to figure out what would be instead of closed,
Oh, that's my next
right?
question.
But I guarantee I can find one, because the first thing I had to do with this value path, what I call it, like, so I've changed the names of the stages to try and be very like, who is on the other side of this focused, right? So I
Mhm.
changed, like, I've never liked MQL and SQL and all this leads,
Okay.
right? So I've changed it to, audience, researcher, hand raiser,
Nice.
hero, which stands for highly empowered revenue
Revenue.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
then uh, value creator is the next stage, and then adopter, uh, advocate, and champion. So the last three are pretty fairly standard, I'd say. But everything before that, like all of these handoffs that stop the adoption, because adoption at the end of the day is like the problem that everybody talks about, and everybody tries to product engineer our way out of it, right?
Yep.
And what I was discovering is like, okay, this stage is supposed to be customer. Like everybody calls this stage customer after closed one,
Yep.
right? First of all, if we're designing a customer experience that's supposed to last the whole life cycle, it could be as simple as saying, as soon as there's an exchange of value, which could be an email address, like they're a customer now. And now you can actually
Good
design a
point.
whole experience instead of waiting until you get the money,
Get the money. Yeah, that's
right?
a good point. That's a good point. How you define
But then,
customer is very big.
but then I was like, okay, well, I have a habit of just targeting these like crazy status quo words. That's like a mountain to climb. But like, what are the problems that we run into in that handoff? like, because we definitely take a lot for granted because they are now a customer, right? They've given us money. Well, one of the assumptions is like, oh, they trust us now, or we don't care. They paid for it, so they're going to just hang out. Well, the trust has been built with everybody involved so far,
Yep.
right? Now you bring another team in on both sides sometimes. They don't know who you are. There's no trusted relationship at all, right? So labeling them as a customer, like you got to rebuild that relationship from scratch sometimes.
That's right. From delivery to sales. What about
And
like
when
this?
I thought about like what are those people responsible for? Because the reason to change the name, it's like you can very easily go from like, okay, audience, what are they doing? I am learning and I am researching. I'm ready to buy if I'm raising my hand, right? Well, those people in that moment, no matter who they are on either side, they have to create value for the organization that invested in the product. And when you can assign them in that way, like it's much easier to like see it from their side. Like what is creating value for them mean? If they're an individual contributor, it's different from if they're a team manager, which is different from if they're an executive,
Executive.
right? And in a lot of organizations, you got to find a way. This is where like the 90-day onboarding cycle in general just starts to break because it's so hard. It's a challenge to get all of those people in line and understanding of the investment that was just made and the requirements to realize it, right? And that's where either you've got an executive who just like powered through, we need something now, we need more leads. So let's buy HubSpot. And I don't care what you got to do, team, just make it work. And then it's like, oh, well, we need sales to start doing this. Oh, why do you need that? Just make the leads work. We're not,
Yeah.
right? And we all run into that, right? So
Yep.
I always try to err on the side of within the first month, getting everybody like in an appropriate way, every at least organizational piece or team needs to be represented in the initial conversations of what it means, especially when you go full platform HubSpot, like every team is going to be impacted and they will love it unless you surprise them. Then they will hate it and they will make sure it does not work.
Definitely is a problem. Yep.
Right. And it's such a paradigm shift. So during my sales process, I'm telling the leaders that up front, like there's no easy buttons, no quick
Yep.
wins. It might look like there's some on the surface, but when we go that route, and especially us on the consulting side, like, because I was always asked to do that internally, and Google Ads is such a great example, especially when you start to align it with HubSpot's purpose. When you start to match it with something like Google Ads, it becomes the quick win machine and not the business platform
Yeah.
that
Right.
needs
Needs to
resourcing.
be.
And it's all of this is very nuanced. But like once you see it in action and you can target these things, like you can have appropriate conversations to just say, like, no, like quick wins, this is what happens when we do that. So this is why we're not doing that. Right. And the two things I like to key on, and one I did before, but the second thing is new. And that's the first thing is like you can usually get everybody on board with unified view of the customer,
Mhm.
right? And HubSpot is the guaranteed to be the place best for that. Like that's where it's always interesting to understand how we cannot create leverage
It's so true.
against ERPs and accounting. They cannot do that part. They cannot show you the sales and marketing stuff.
Yep.
Like so you literally cannot get a unified picture in those systems. We can do that now in HubSpot,
You can do an
right?
HubSpot.
But to get that, you need to think of HubSpot as your communication and relationship management tool. Like so CRM, where the C is not customer, it is communication,
Communication. It's an
right?
interesting way of looking at it. I mean, like, and even like what I would say is like, you like there's when you were talking about this handoff, I always think about food delivery apps like the Domino's Pizza app, for example, or whatever. You make the order through the app, and then there's like, so and so is preparing your order, so and so is QCing your order. Now it's being tracked by the delivery where it is, and now flying gets to your door. Someone else had to like, you make the order with one place in the business, right? Then it goes through different people in the organization and it's delivered. And now, like, of course I'm in the app now. Now it's customer success, right? I get the push notifications for another order a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a Friday from now. And like, I just think about what you were talking about, the buy-in piece of it. Like, how do you like put yourself in that world? Like, how do you think they like pizza delivery's always been like a phone call thing, right? How do you think they got that to go through an app? I mean, like the buy that would be needed. Like, what do you think about that person's grind to get them to change from like, no, we're phone orders. That's preposterous. I mean, like, but they did it. I mean, I use an app to get pizza. I mean, like, like, do you
Right.
ever think about stuff like that? We're actually clicked. Like, I mean, we're actually kind of you can see the happy ending some sort. I mean, don't you want to know kind of where those bodies are buried a little bit? I know, I sure do.
Well, I think there's lots of success stories, but also the bad stories like
Oh yeah, yeah.
Blockbuster.
Oh
Like
yeah.
Block, like Blockbuster is so interesting. Like in terms of they had an offer available to them for Netflix,
Yeah, for Netflix, yeah.
and like their decision because the profitability was coming from the candy in stores
Yeah.
is one of the reasons they did not take them up on that offer. And that's always
Yeah.
like it stuck with me, like this focus on margin and profitability and the bad decisions that it creates,
So
like
true.
literally has taken down like
An empire.
legacy organizations.
Yeah.
But I do think in general, B2B is always like 5 to 7 years behind like B2C.
Right.
And when I talk about the portals and B2B order portals, I actually didn't talk about, I had to learn like, because I couldn't use customer portal because everybody knew that as like a ticketing system.
Okay.
And I had to get to the point of order portal. But before that, I was like, can we just have a Domino's pizza tracker for B2B?
Oh, I actually said
Right. Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And I did it on it was the 2024 version of Scott Brinker's like Martech
Martech
5000
fine. Yeah, 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 sure.
report or whatever.
Sure.
And I said that in the chat. I was like, we can, because he's like that map just continues to expand. It's like 1,200 new AI apps. And I said, I was like, it's crazy that we can do this stuff and we don't have a Domino's pizza
So
tracker
check it.
for B2B. Like
Wow.
we know the
Amazing
lifetime
analogy.
of a pizza, an
Yep.
$8 pizza, like
Yep.
every move that it makes.
Yep.
But 500,000 piece of like capital equipment, I'm just totally in the dark for 6 months.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it makes no sense, right? Where it starts to make sense is that what's been available. This is where like I love HubSpot and the journey that it's been on to solve for like quote to cash and
That's right.
post sales order management, right? Because of this disconnect of like ERPs and accounting systems just own the day. Like that's where that stuff has to be. They are the source of truth.
Yep.
Customer data, great if we have it,
If we get it, yeah, if we
but
get it.
we usually don't. We don't care. Like go have your fun over in HubSpot, marketing, sales stuff. But the real data is over here, right? And the ability to connect those. Like I remember my first, like in the first iteration of working at this bigger company and the ERP conversations. Like I had a decent relationship with the head of IT, but they saw everybody sees the CRM system as dirty data, and we got to keep that out of the financial data, even though the financial data is dirty too.
Sure.
But literally a disconnect where we might be selling to like a government site, and that's where the whole sales process goes, right? So that's the relationship. The CRM sees that data, but the person paying the bills is the college, is the university, like next door. So when I have to go see like how many orders, like I'm seeing two completely different stories. And unless I've been on the other side of the wall,
You don't know.
there's
Yeah.
no way for me to make that connection.
There's no way.
But
How?
from a financial standpoint, the university's paying the bills. So that needs to be on the invoice, the PO, like everything needs to match. What doesn't need to match is the quoting and all that stuff that's happened before. So it literally like just causes this gap that is very hard to cross without doing a lot of data model work, which I'm very passionate about helping people with that. But from a B2C perspective, I think they're just infinitely better at truly understanding like customer, like they're doing customer data stuff like before there was all these magnificent systems that did it for you, right?
Yep.
So they've been doing that for a long time. And that's where, I mean, I would love to see, like, let's say the Domino's pizza tracker, like a fairly large investment on their part.
Of course.
But also when they're doing things like 30 minutes or it's free, like they're working just with a different level of data
Of
where
course,
they know
they know
like
what they can
how much that would
make.
cost them, how likely they are to miss the 30 minutes. Like it's all based on knowledge, but understand it, because that's the thing, like on the B2B side, like no matter how pretty the picture we can make in HubSpot, like attribution is another word that's just like, I want it to be true, guys, but marketing attribution is not the same as sales attribution. And I'm sorry,
No.
it's just never going to be that good for you. It's, you can't, it's got to be easier to tell that story because there's no sales process probably, right? It's
That's
just
right.
customer experience across the board. So saying this out loud right now, when you remove the sales process motion, you don't create these silos
No,
that
it
have
actually
different
becomes easier.
KPIs,
It becomes
right?
easier.
And so it's the customer team in charge and probably a lot less, decision hoops to jump through. And it becomes to where we get with HubSpot when I'm having these conversations. Like if we can get out of the fact of like, okay, we're building one system. Like the system is the source of truth. It's not ERP or HubSpot.
Hmm.
Because if it's the customer team, it needs to be HubSpot. If it's operations, it needs to be the ERP.
ERP.
Like we don't have to compromise for either side if we understand that it's one system. But knowing that HubSpot can communicate everything better than most other systems and our customer views here, we get out of the, oh, should we do it over here, over there conversation,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's where I imagine like their systems of customer focus must be more like just streamlined. Like it's an IT decision only. And it's not about where or how. It's just about, okay, what does it take to get it done? How long? But yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
It's a good
interesting
question.
way to think about it. But what I found was that when I came over here, because I thought this was also a manufacturing. When I say over here,
Mm.
I was always in manufacturing.
Over
Like
here.
since 2017, like I met HubSpot, I met like They Ask You Answer, from Marcus Sheridan, StoryBrand, all this stuff like made so much sense. And I'm like, how is none of this getting through to the manufacturing leaders? Like, what is wrong with us in manufacturing?
Mhm.
And then I jump into the SaaS ecosystem and I see manufacturing pages that are clearly just SaaS pages, like put over with a
Mhm.
manufacturing title on them,
Yep.
right? And uh, so when I got over here and um, understood that the reason this specific disconnect where it's like ERPs and then everything else for portal style experiences, you either had glorified spreadsheets, like people would share Google Sheets, right? Or you had like $1 million implementations to do like true customer experience platforms like NetSuite. Like they got all these add-ons. Nobody does it, right?
No, it
Because
does
they're
work. Yeah.
not built to support a customer experience, right? Um, and once you understand that gap, it becomes very powerful, but also easy to understand why HubSpot could be seen as so valuable and truly a differentiated, platform in that way,
Platform.
right?
Yeah.
So,
So, I mean, like, we kind of went to a couple of different directions on this one, but I mean, I'm just trying to think like the way you think about it, like, and you come back to your initial point about adaptability. Do you think when a CRM investment is a marketing decision, IT decision, leadership decision? I mean, like, or is it all together?
Please don't let it be an IT decision. Like,
So so
please.
so who who owns those kind of decisions? Like even on the Domino's pizza analogy, like whose decision was that? Do you think to drive that change through the org? I mean, was it leadership? Was it
So
IT? Was it marketing? I mean, who was it? Like, what do you
I
think?
think it's Sangram. Um, I really like his book Move that really talks about like problem market fit, product market fit, platform market fit,
Mm.
right? And in his
Sangramurji.
in his
Yeah.
model, yeah, he suggests that the CEO, I'm pretty sure it's still that way, but he's a fast mover, so maybe it's changed. But the CEO is the last person responsible. Like it's up to them to make sure the go to market is successful, right? And
So they own
not
it.
it's probably debatable, like in terms of most people's minds, because it's sales and market, like, but you have to. It's whoever who is determining this is how we show up, like in the market, right? Because that's where like CRM has to be seen as a tip to tail, like full life cycle data system.
Mm.
And marketing's not in charge of all those teams. Sales is not in charge. RevOps
Right.
can help with strategy, but they don't
And
have any
reporting.
jurisdiction
They have no
over those
jurisdiction.
teams.
They're
So
accounting
usually I
for reporting.
recommend, because it's usually a lot less clean, like go to market is often a new term for people, and it's so hard to explain, and which is why a lot of value first is like, all right, let's get rid of all of the old words. Like it's just causing issues and we haven't figured it out by now. AI is going to help us figure out lots of new ways. So let's just start getting rid of a lot of the traditional stuff and all this industrial age like stuff that is based on scarcity, causing all these issues. Um, but usually I'll recommend like let's get a RevOps committee like together, right? And again,
Okay.
like most organizations
Cross-functional team, something like that.
have cross-functional teams for quality and safety, like in the manufacturing space at least, and
But
like
not for something like this. Wow.
right. And this exists. So it's either a RevOps committee or a growth committee, right? It's so hard to label it in a way, but I do think it's key to label it in a way where it's not the marketing person in charge or it's not the salesperson, because as soon as you add that label, no matter how many, no matter how much somebody's nodding and smiling, like they're like, all right, marketing's going to put their spin on this.
Yeah.
Sales is only going to do it like while they can handle the margins.
Sometimes. Yep.
Like sale service wants to give away everything for free. So I'm in sales and I don't want them to know everything I'm doing. Right. All of these things I've just experienced in real time. And it's real though, because they're used to these. First of all, they're all graded on different KPIs that are not aligned at all. So naturally, they have a job to do. They've been given a task list. They're trying to be successful. And it's just that's why alignment has been so hard, right? But I want us to get to like a customer team and an operations team and a finance. Like I think those are the three layers of an AI enabled organization. And then you have these moments. Like I think customer experience and RevOps are two sides of the same exact coin, and they should always be working together. Again, when you know that, HubSpot makes it easier than any other system to be able to do that. But when you can handle that, all of a sudden, all this maintenance, all these conversations, just everything starts to get easier. And getting to that part to get to the adaptability. Like I was recently at the AI summit that HubSpot put on, and the two takeaways were speed at all costs, speed with innovation, of course. But that innovation is not going to come from focus in the ways that it always has. It's going to come from ideation and people who can execute on the ideas, which is way, way different from how most organizations operate. One of my least favorite moments is sitting in a weekly management meeting, rehashing the same problems providing the same answers to those problems where everybody agrees on how to solve the problem, yet we find ways to not move forward, right? And that decision paralysis, like, you will not survive, like, in this world that's being formed right now by AI. Luckily, and I've moved on this a lot, AI can help you break out of that. And I think I've moved from a place of like, well, if you haven't digitally transformed, good luck with AI, to, oh, you can probably skip digital transformation now. Like, just ask AI for help. Like, a couple weeks ago, I was at one of the in-person sites, and I gave Perplexity like a picture of a sheet of paper that was printed, and I said, digitize this. It's a big table of numbers. It was perfect. And in that moment, I was like, oh wow, this is how these companies are gonna evolve. Because what that allows is, now that it's in, now that person who just did that can have that conversational thing. And if you let me go, like, we're gonna be on here for 4 hours. So I'm just super passionate about this stuff. This is so powerful, and there's so many challenges that can be solved if we can just shine a light on, create some awareness about what's possible and why change is a good thing, and all that good stuff.
Chris, I could talk to you about this for several hours, but I know you got, we just get to it, right? So like, where can people get a hold of you? Where can they connect with you?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. Definitely DM me there, connect with me there. I almost never say no to a connection request, so don't hesitate there. But every morning on the Profoundly page, we do Wake Up Customer Platform, me, George B. Thomas, and Casey Hawkins. Luckily, HubSpot gives us something to talk about every single day with 5 to 10 new updates. And I just said, hey, the only way we can keep up is if we talk about the updates every day. So that's been well received. And so, yeah, real big on just sharing knowledge and helping other experts share knowledge. So you'll find me in a lot of places on LinkedIn, but definitely on the Profoundly page every morning. So
Yeah, and I know it's a big shout out to those two, George and Casey, for all the work that they help you with on educating the masses. Chris, it's been awesome to talk with you about this stuff. I know we kind of adaptability is a huge thing for in the business world, RevOps world, and it was interesting to know that some of your biggest challenges were around that. So thanks for coming on and talking about it today.
I appreciate it, Sajil. Thanks for having
Yeah,
me.
yeah. This has been another episode of RevOps 500, everybody, and we'll talk soon.